Creed 3 is the third installment of the Creed franchise and is a continuation of a spin-off/sequel series of the Rocky franchise. This was written by Keenan and Ryan Coogler and Zach Baylin and directed by Michael B. Jordan, who is also the main lead as Adonis Creed, the son of Apollo Creed from the Rocky films, for those who don't know. Adonis has been thriving in both in his career and family life, but when a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy resurfaces, the face-off is more than just a fight. Now, I'm a pretty big fan of the Rocky and Creed films. I think with the Rocky films, I would consider the first and second film to be absolute classics. Rocky 3 is decent. Rocky 4 is a cult classic, and for some, it's a guilty pleasure. Rocky 5, I'm not really a fan of. Rocky Balboa, I think, is a pretty decent comeback for Stallone returning as the Italian stallion. With the Creed films, I think Creed 1 is a modern classic, and Creed 2 I think is okay, but I didn't really love it. With Creed 3, I found it to be a pretty average film, but at the same time it was sufficient. One of the aspects I think works really well from Creed 3 was the chemistry between Adonis Creed and the new character Damien Anderson, played by Jonathan Majors. It shows this background and setup of the plot to be simple. However, it's pretty believable and personal between the conflict of Adonis and Damien, and especially from the perspective of Damien. Which brings me to Michael B. Jordan's directing. I thought he did an excellent job at showing these minor and subtle moments about what happened between Adonis and Damien in the past. When the film begins, it starts off as a flashback. It doesn't really show the entire flashback before flash forwarding to the present. Instead, it cuts back and forth for very specific and appropriate scenes to establish and develop how close Adonis and Damien was, but don't worry, it's not constant, messy and annoying. Creed 3 had some excellent performances. From Michael B. Jordan returning as Adonis Creed, he continues to have this strong presence. Tessa Thompson returning as Bianca Creed was fantastic once again, and is my favourite character performance she portrays. And of course, we cannot forget Jonathan Majors as Damien Anderson. This actor is everywhere at the moment, from The Last Black Man in San Francisco to Five Bloods, and of course right now he's also in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I loved his performance in this as Damien Anderson. His performance really shows to have so much pain and anger that he is hiding, and you can't really tell the correct emotion he is portraying, which makes his performance to be very unpredictable to Adonis and of course us, the audience. The fight scenes in Creed 3 were interesting and different. At first I felt I was watching a cutscene from a game, from the visuals and camera work, but once you see more of the fight scenes, especially the main fight of the film, they do get much better. With the action, and specifically the punches from the fights, there are moments where it shows these slow motion moments, and it reminded me of what Guy Ritchie does in the two Sherlock Holmes films. And while it obviously looks painful, it does a fantastic job at looking very real. In addition to the fight scenes, it does an excellent job from the sound design, again making it look painful and real. Without giving too much away about the main fight of the film, it goes into a different direction of showing these visuals and colours. And I found it appropriate why the script and Michael B. Jordan's directing went for this creative choice, as this represents the past about Adonis and Damien. Another aspect I found to be interesting but also risky at the same time was Sylvester Stallone not returning as Rocky. Now, I don't really know exactly why he is not in Creed 3. All that I've heard is about some creative differences between Stallone and producer Irvin Winkler, and nothing specific. It honestly did not really bother me that Rocky was not in Creed 3, and I didn't feel it ruined the experience. However, with Rocky being the mentor and teacher to Adonis Creed, I think is a very important aspect of the franchise. I understand that Adonis has now reached a point where he is successful and at a top level for his boxing career, and he may not need a mentor with him all the time now, compared to the previous films where Rocky was the one who got him in the position where he is in Creed 3. It could have been nice to see Rocky in the film retired and have Adonis maybe meet up with him somewhere, have a nice catch up, and maybe ask some advice about the conflict he's going through with Damien. I do think this choice of not having Rocky in this film will divide fans. Who knows, the differences may be put aside and we might see Rocky returning for a 4th or 5th Creed film if it does happen. We shall see. When it comes to my negatives of Creed 3, I did feel that it did have a weak second act. Just after when Damien starts the conflict with Adonis, there is a sad tragedy that happens, and of course, without spoiling, it felt that it was executed really strange, as it felt poorly paced and it was just rushing to get to the final fight of the film. Of course, it was meant to build more difficult emotion and sadness to feel sorry for Adonis Creed, but I felt it was just thrown in the script at the last minute and without any thought. I also felt Creed 3 could have been much longer, maybe going over the 2-hour limit, so that way it could have given more time and emotion of the tragedy scene. Overall, Creed 3 was a pretty good, average and solid 3rd installment. I really enjoyed its setup, the chemistry between Adonis and Damien was fantastic, and it really had a damn good final fight. Based on my Letterboxd rating, I'm going to give Creed 3 a 4-star out of 5. Thank you for watching, and look out for more videos coming your way.